Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madhura Madhura Jaya Radha Madhura Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Radha Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Dayam Shupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgacharya Stotra Satta Sri Samad His Divine Grace Shirabai Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON DBT Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri the Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurandritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhisam Stapitam Jena Bhuttale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanditam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakan Sanagorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Siti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Gaivacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dharam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, and let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayasavadreshu
नस्तरेषु भद्रेषु
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
Bhagavati Uttamasloke
भागवति उत्तमश्लोके
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike.
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके
By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, it becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama
इदं भागवतं नाम
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
पुराणं ब्रह्मसंहितं
Uttamasloka Charitam
उत्तमश्लोकचरितं
Sakara Bhagavan Rishi
चकार भगवान् ऋषि
Nistrayasaya Lokasya
लोकस्य
Dhanyam Swasaya Namaha.
यज्ञं स्वस्य नमः
This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. This is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य
Prabhu Nityananda
प्रभु नित्यानंद
Sri Advaita Gadadhara
श्री अद्वैत गदाधर
Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
हरे कृष्ण
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे
Hare Rama Hare Rama
हरे राम
Rama Rama Hare Hare
राम राम हरे हरे
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Surabhyay Namaha
ओम सुरभ्याय नमः
Om Surabhyay Namaha
ओम सुरभ्याय नमः
Om Surabhyay Namaha
ओम सुरभ्याय नमः
Mukham karoti vacharam pagum langayate girim Yat kripa tamaham bandhu Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripa tamaham bandhu Sri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna. We are continuing, although yesterday we had taken a break since it was the appearance of Radhakund and Bahulastami. So we are resuming, rather, our reading from the 18th chapter of the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter entitled Description of Varnasrama Dharma. And we begin with text 2.1.21. Vivikta
विविक्ता
Kshema
क्षेम
Sarano
शरणो
Mad
मत्
Bhava
भाव
Vimala Shaya
विमलाशय
Atmanam
आत्मानम्
Atmanam
आत्मानं
Chintayat
चिन्तयेत्
Ekam
एकम्
Abhedena
अभेदेन
Maya
माया
Munihi
मुनिः
Vivikta Kshema Sarano
विविक्तक्षेम शरणो
Madhava Vimalashaya
मद्भाव विमलाशयः
Atmanam Chintayat Ekam
आत्मानं चिन्तयदेकम्
Abhedena Maya Munihi
अभेदेन मायामुनिः
Vivikta Kshema Sarano
Viviktashema Sharano
Madbhava Vimalashaya
Madbhava Vimalashaya
Atmanam Chintayat Ekam
Atmanam Chintayedekam
Vedhena Maya Munihi
Abhedena Maya Muni
Vivikta Kshema Sharano
Viviktashema Sharano
Madbhava Vimalashaya
Madbhava Vimalashaya
Atmanam Chintayat Ekam
Atmanam Chintayedekam
Abedhena Maya Muni
Abhedena Maya Muni Viviktashema Sharano
Vivikta Kshema Sharano
Madbhava Vimalashaya
Madbhava Vimalashaya
Atmanam Chintayedekam
Atmanam Chintayat Ekam
Abhedena Maya Muni
Vedena Maya Munihi
Viviktashema Sharano
Vivikta Kshema Sharano
Madbhava Vimalashaya
Madbhava Vimalashaya
Atmanam Chintayedekam
Atmanam Chintayat Ekam
Abhedena Maya Munihi
Abhedena Maya Munihi Vivikta
Vivikta
solitary
Solitary
Kshema
Kshema
safe
Safe
Kshema also means what? Protection, no?
Kshema is like
To-
protection of all qualities,
Protection of
all specific qualities.
all specific qualities. Okay. So here, safe. Okay. Saranaha.
Saranaha
In his dwelling,
is dwelling.
mat
Mat
in me,
in me.
bhava
Bhava
by constant thought,
by constant thought.
vimala
Vimala
purified.
purified.
Okay, vimala, mala
Amala.
against mala. Yeah. Amala, vimala.
Oh, Amala is without any touch with.
Yeah, amala is similar to vimala, no?
But this is purified. That is always pure.
Yeah,
This is it was impure and then it got
but
purified.
it's a combination of v and mala, no?
So it was already dirty, then it got purified. So it is purified now.
Okay, vimala always purified.
Vimala is called purified now. Amala is always pure. Never it will be difference.
But the same mala is there,
Yeah, Mala is impure.
right? Ashaya.
Ashaya,
His consciousness,
his consciousness.
atmanam,
Atmanam
on the soul,
on the soul.
chintayat,
Chintayet,
he should
he
concentrate,
should concentrate.
ekam,
Ekam,
alone,
alone.
abedhena,
Abhedena,
not different,
not different.
maya,
Maya,
from me,
from me.
munihi,
Muni,
the sage. Translation and purport by devotees of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki. Dwelling in a safe and solitary place, his mind purified by constant thought of me, the sage should concentrate on the soul alone, realizing it to be non-different from me. This is not monism here. Kindly repeat after me. Dwelling in a safe and a solitary place. His mind purified by constant thought of me. The sage should concentrate on the soul alone, realizing it to be non-different from me. Purport. One who is engaged exclusively in the devotional service of the Lord in one of the 5 principal relationships is to be known as a pure Vaishnava. Because of his advanced stage of love of Godhead, a pure devotee is able to constantly chant the glories of the Lord without material hindrance. He is not interested in anything except Lord Krishna and never considers himself to be qualitatively different from the Lord. Yes. There is qualitatively and quantitatively. So that's nicely and very clearly defined in the Dasamula Tattva of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yeah. What's it called? There is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes 4 features or 4 tattvas of the Atma.
I have not read it.
It's a small book. It's a small book, very, very powerful, very much in line with Srila Jiva Goswami's Satsandarbha. Yeah, he mentions about Amsha, the first of the 4 characteristics of the Atma. Atma is Amsha. Mamai Vangsho Jivaloke, that verse in the Bhagavad Gita. And then the soul can be either Mukta Jiv, fully, completely, always eternally liberated, Mukta Jiv, Jivan Mukta, or it can be Baddha Jiv. Welcome to the material world. Living entities in the material world. I mean, sometimes, but very occasionally, some liberated soul may come. But generally, living entities in the material world, you have Baddha Jiv. And the 4th characteristic is Bina Abhina. Bina Abhina. Same and different. Same in quality, different in quantity. That's is being mentioned here. So, yeah, we should avoid all outside disturbances.
No, sometimes they will put message, the audio is little weak and video is going off.
Oh, Rishi is super.
Not only him, other devotees who are watching him.
I see. Okay. It's a, what is it? Quality control. Quality control. Okay, to continue here. One who is still attracted by the gross material body and subtle material mind, which cover the eternal soul, continues to see himself as different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This misconception is due to false identification with matter. That is generally called false ego, ahankar. With senses purified of material contamination, one must serve the Lord, who is the master of all senses. And thus, one's devotional service is considered free from discrepancy. Yeah. One who ignores the injunctions of Vedic literature uselessly wastes his sense activity in illusory material activities. That means acting on the body platform. He falsely considers himself to be different from Lord Krishna and therefore imagines that he possesses an interest independent of the Lord's interest. That's an important point. When our interests, when our different interests, because we have many interests, become fully, completely in tune or in line with Krishna, then that the more that is present, then the more we are Krishna conscious, obviously. There is no possibility that such a person can achieve steadiness in life if his interests are different from Krishna, because the material field of action is constantly being shifted and transformed by the disturbing influence of time. Just watch the news sometimes. It's constantly, news is constantly changing because of the the time factor acts differently in the material world than in the spiritual world. What's the difference?
There no time exists. Here
Time is there.
No, that is time for
The time in the spiritual world is present. It's eternal time. It's like, it's at the here and now. Yeah. Sometimes people who don't really know about what's going on in the spiritual world also promote that concept, the be here and now. Don't space out and just if you're talking with somebody, be here and now. Interact with that person properly, because very often people, they don't do that, and therefore people are not hearing properly, and therefore so much of misunderstanding. This misconception is due to false identification with matter. With senses purified and material contamination, one must serve the Lord, who is the master of all senses, and thus one's devotional service is considered free from discrepancy. Yeah, we read this. One who ignores the injunctions of Vedic literature uselessly wastes his sense activity in illusory material activities. I went back a little bit here. There's no possibility that such a person can achieve steadiness in life, because the material field of action is constantly being shifted and transformed by the disturbing influence of time. Yeah. If a devotee begins to cultivate an interest apart from the loving service of the Lord, his meditation on his oneness with the Lord will be disturbed and overturned. When the mind deviates from the lotus feet of the Lord, the duality of material nature again becomes prominent within the mind. Ekamanaso, that is mentioned here also. Chintayat ekam. Chinta is to think or concentrate. And one resumes a work program based on the three modes of material nature. One who is not fixed in one's own relationship with the Supreme Lord cannot be fearless or steady, and is deprived of the shelter of Lord Sri Krishna. Therefore, one should seriously contemplate, as described in this verse, one's identity as a small particle of consciousness, not different from the supreme consciousness, Lord Krishna. And thus, one should remain steady in Krishna consciousness. Reading the translation again here. Dwelling in a safe and solitary place, his mind purified by constant thought of me, the sage should concentrate on the soul alone, realizing it to be non-different from me. So the verse is specifically referring to we've been talking about sannyasis. So sannyasis, especially in their the latter part of their life, Prabhupada mentions this in various places. It's just like when when one has sufficiently, that is the injunction, when one has sufficiently preached, only then one can retire. And generally it happens automatically due to old age, where one cannot travel, isn't it? I was just hearing a very nice interview actually from one devotee who used to be, who was initiated actually in the early days by, soon after Prabhupada left, by one of our earlier initiating gurus, and then different things happened, and he came in contact with one prominent member of the Gaudiya Math, one prominent senior, we could say acharya, and he ended up actually taking initiation from him also. And then he was telling that particular senior Gaudiya Math devotee who was actually initiating also, but because he had become aged, so even in his mat, he would not, what probably was difficult for him to come down, so he would not attend functions, and so this is this verse is referring to that kind of stage in life. Vanaprastha is the beginning of that stage. Of course, even before Vanaprastha, whether it is in Brahmacharya ashram stage of life, householder stage of life, the same injunction is there, that we should always endeavor to fix our mind on Krishna, to engage in activities that will be in accordance with Krishna consciousness, that will help us to remember Krishna. And in this way we remain in a safe position. But the message here is that even before one retires, one needs to have some solitary place, some what is it? There's a big lacking, something that is very much lacking in modern day society. People have no time for themselves, isn't it? We meet, I remember, and I'm sure this happens also today, if someone who has never met devotees or has never practiced spiritual life, if he comes to an ashram, I've had personal experience of that, and if he sits down, let's say, and starts discussing with a devotee, generally people will not be able to sit more than a few minutes, especially Western people, and they will be amazed at seemingly how long devotees can just sit at one place and without having to move and concentrate on one subject matter. So this is mentioned here in the verse, chintayat ekam, atmanam chintayat ekam. In other places, as I mentioned a little earlier, eko manaso, with one fixed mind, one should concentrate on his activities at devotional service, because ultimately, Prabhupada compared, I think it's in the Bhagavatam somewhere, it is explained that just like lightning, when there's a storm, lightning, we don't know when it comes, right? It comes very quickly. Within a moment, there's lightning. And generally, thunder. So Prabhupada compares, or maybe one particular verse possibly in the Bhagavatam compares leaving the body like that. Just like you may not know, but yesterday, one brahmachari, have you read it? No. Anyways, someone just sent me the picture of a brahmachari who had just gone to Radhakund yesterday, and on his way back on a motorbike, he got into an accident and left his body. Young.
Oh, telling him that like an accident it is.
Yeah, accident. Yeah, especially in that kind of situation, it's like totally unexpectedly, isn't it? Accidents are generally taking us by. We don't plan accidents; they happen unexpectedly, and it means that actually it's like we're sitting here now. Practically speaking, like the next moment, we're not here.
Normally, leaving the body like that is actually a huge process.
Leaving the body in an accident?
No, in natural.
Oh, in the natural. Yeah. So there's, I suppose, statistically, most people don't leave in an accident.
Most people actually don't live naturally. Even in old days, nobody is dying because their heart stopped. They are dying because their liver failed. This failed. And
well, because no one is living naturally, so therefore their whole process of normally, let's say when we were not caught up in the modern civilization, which is making us do so many things unnatural, and the rate of accidents is much higher, much higher, isn't it? So most people are not living out their natural lifespan, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are all destined according to karma to breathe so many times. It's based on the number of breath, which determines how many years we are meant to live in this particular body. So just like when somebody takes his own life, he doesn't live out the allotted time according to karma, and therefore he's not allowed to have, by the law of nature, another body until that period. So he takes on a ghostly body. Ghostly body means he's not yet awarded a gross body. Yeah, he remains in his ghostly body, means just being in our subtle body. And therefore, Prabhupada was explaining that there's one planet. You can check it out later, not now. There's one planet, maybe only 100 miles from our planet, which is a ghostly planet. And it's like, it's overcrowded because there's too many people who are leaving untimely. So whether one takes one's life prematurely or one by the manner in which he's living unnaturally dies prematurely, that's similar type. One doesn't live out his allotted time. Therefore, one has to remain in his subtle body for X period of time, which is considered, which is actually hellish, because one who is having subtle body, still has all kinds of desires that he can't fulfill.
There is no medium.
Yeah, like you want to eat, but right. So then you start, haunting people or whatever like that. So yeah, this is important instruction here. That means that as devotees, we should be keeping this in mind, that the more we align our thoughts, our thinking, our desires, our thinking, feeling, and willing in line with Krishna, in line with the principles of dharma, then we are in a safe position. Which means also, here it mentions, one who is not fixed in one's own relationship with the Supreme Lord. And that's, of course, the vast majority of living entities in the material world. And also even those who take up to spiritual life, the vast majority of people who take to spiritual life don't even know about Krishna. And those who know about Krishna it is not so easy to be fixed in our relationship with the Lord. So those who are in that situation cannot be fearless or steady, and therefore are deprived of the shelter of Lord Krishna. Yeah. Therefore, one should seriously contemplate, as described in this verse, one's identity as a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Okay, that's important instruction. Text 22. Anvikshetat manobandham
Anvikhetat manobandham
moksham cha gnana nisthaya
moksham cha jnana nishtaya
bandha indriya vikshepo
bandha indriya vikshepo
moksha esham cha samyamah.
mokshesham cha samyamah.
Translation and purport: by steady knowledge, a sage should clearly ascertain the nature of the soul's bondage and liberation. A bondage occurs when the senses are deviated to sense gratification, and contemplate control of the senses, and complete control of the senses, rather, constitutes liberation. Short purport: by carefully understanding one's eternal nature, one will not again be bound up in the shackles of material energy, and by constant engagement in the service of the absolute truth, one is liberated. So this is an important point. By constantly being engaged, so therefore we hear Prabhupada often mention Krishna consciousness means to be engaged 24 hours a day, which is not easy. Even to be engaged in the waking stage is also not easy to speak of 24 hours. Then the flickering material senses can no longer drag one into the false consciousness of being a material enjoyer. Such a steady sense control gives one relief from the harassment of material sense gratification. Yes. Okay. Text 23. We'll go up to 24 today. Tasman niyamya sadvargam. Tasman niyamya sadvargam. You lost it.
Yeah, it didn't load.
Madbhavena charen munihi.
Madbhavena charen munihi.
Virakta kshudra kamebhyo.
Virakta kshudra kamebhyo.
Labdvat mani sukam mahat.
Labdvat mani sukam mahat.
This is translation without purport. Therefore, completely controlling the five senses and the mind by Krishna consciousness, a sage, having experienced spiritual bliss within the self, should live detached from insignificant material sense gratification. Text 24. Pura grama rajan sarathan.
Pura grama vrajan sarthan.
Dikshartham pravisham charit
Vichatam pravisham chare.
punya desha charit chaila.
Punyadesha sharichaila.
I thought it was varnashram. Vanashram.
Oh, yes.
Vanashram vatim mahim.
Vanashramavatim mahim.
Yeah, there is varna and there is vana. Vanashram. That translation and purport. The sage should travel in sanctified places by flowing rivers and within the solitude of mountains and forests. He should enter the cities, towns, and pasturing grounds and approach ordinary working men only and only to beg his bare sustenance. The opposite is happening in modern day society. Yeah. So this is a nice instruction, which is very close to what, the whole ideology of Vedic lifestyle, which is meant to be very much in harmony, living in harmony with nature, because nature is Krishna. Nature is Krishna's energy. One can see Krishna, one can appreciate Krishna through nature. I am the taste of water. I am the light of the sun and the moon. The whole chapter describing different different things in nature that are representing directly Krishna. Yeah. So those who are serious about spiritual life generally are meant to stay away from congested places where people are mostly absorbed and engaged in all activities of Maya, sense gratification. So that's why the our Goswamis in Vrindavan, I don't know if all of them had their own cave, but Raghunath Das Goswami had his cave in Govardhan, isn't it? And I didn't read the article, but someone sent me an article just a few days ago mentioning about something mysterious about the caves of Govardhan. Maybe you can check it out. Because Govardhan in itself, of course, is mysterious.
We don't climb Govardhan also.
Unless you're a Brajavasi. Prabhupada used to explain that when the time comes for Govardhan Puja, the Brajavasis take their cows and their bullocks, and they walk on Govardhan. But they can do that because they have a very unique, special relationship, the Brajavasis, with Govardhan. Whereas we circumambulate, Govardhan. And Govardhan, we hear from different Shastra, Govardhan is much smaller today than it was. It's shrinking, I think, every year, or by the size of maybe a seed or something. Yeah. But there are many caves in Govardhan. Actually, there's a maybe replica of Govardhan, which we will see when we go to Indonesia. There are replicas of different things we find in India, in Indonesia as well. There's a Mount Sumeru. There's a Mount Arjuna in Java. Java actually is a word that we find in the Shastra that describes this devotee who's writing about Vedic geography. Huh? Yeah, very fascinating. And so there's this the name is not coming to Mount. Anyways, it's not that far away from Angkor Wat. Um, one, there are not many. Well, maybe on the border of Vietnam there might be more mountains, but there's a significant mountain not that far from Angkor Wat in in Cambodia, which is considered a sacred mountain. You know why it's considered a sacred mountain? Because from that mountain comes a small rivulet, which especially during the rainy season is very strong, full of water. And there are 1,000 Shivalingas that are still there, that one can have darshan, that are in the bed of the river. Yeah. And there are many people, they still have actually people who follow Hinduism. We met actually some, especially older people. There's a few ashrams also. They preach. So it's these are remnants of Vedic belief or Vedic culture. And not only that, but I think maybe a few years ago, not that long ago, within the last 5 or 10 years, now they have through satellite, you can take pictures of what is underground. So they discovered a whole big temple complex, either under this mountain or close to that mountain.
Oh, this is LiDAR. This they've been doing in Mexico and other places.
Yeah. There are many, we could say, remnants of the Vedic culture, Vedic civilization, especially because, just like in Cambodia, the only structures that are remaining are temples. Just like you're mentioning your house made of stone. So stone structures, they stay. Most people, traditionally only kings naturally live in palace. The common people live in a thatched hut, right?
Actually, there was this one incident. One of the Peshwa, Baji Prabhu, he wanted to build a stone palace for himself.
Who?
Baji, Peshwa, commander for the Maratha army.
Oh, one commander. He wanted to build a stone palace for himself.
And the Chhatrapati who was there at that time, they denied, saying only the Chhatrapati is supposed to build a stone palace.
Only the
Chhatrapati is supposed to build a stone palace. And no other person is allowed to build a stone palace.
And who is Kshatrapati?
No, Chhatrapati title, so there have been many. Shivaji was one, and his son was later, then Shahuji, and everybody passed down.
Okay. So only those who are kings. Yeah. So the only permanent structures in the olden days were either temples or palaces. Yeah. And therefore, just like we have in France, we have New Mayapur.
Yeah, they have a castle.
Yeah, right. Which is, for that matter, even Bhaktivedanta Manor, but that's not, that's a manor. But in Europe, there used to be many such palaces, and of course made of stone. And anyway, there's a whole architecture involved there and whatnot. So let's just read our last verse here, which is we just read what, 23, huh?
Yeah, we didn't read the purport to 24.
We read purport of 24.
No.
Is it?
No, we didn't read the purport.
Okay, we read the
Translation.
The translation. Okay, yeah, we read the translation. So let's read the purport. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the word pura refers to cities and towns with shopping centers, markets, and other commercial enterprises, whereas grama refers to small towns lacking such facilities. The vanaprastha or sannyasi trying to become free from material attachments should avoid those who are working day and night for sense gratification, approaching them only to engage them in necessary acts of charity. Those who are preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world are understood to be liberated souls, and therefore they constantly approach the materialistic living entities to engage them in the devotional service of Lord Krishna. However, even such preachers should strictly avoid contact with the materialistic world when not actually necessary for advancing the mission of Krishna consciousness. The injunction is that one should not deal unnecessarily with the materialistic world. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So we can close here. Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam Ki Jai.